Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So this is Chris from Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and this is another weekly watch. So you've probably seen a video and you come across it before. Essentially, this is me just going through what I've been watching from physical media and streaming for the past 14 days. So it's been a very weird mixture. So we'll do the kind of the thumbnail. What does up? So we'll kind of give you an overview of what I have been watching. So this is everything that I have watched physical media, and obviously we are starting to get a little bit more into streaming stuff with me and my wife. So we'll start off with a little bit of streaming. So on Netflix, me and my wife do struggle for series. Essentially just finding good series you will come across, and I think you find a really good series that you watch, I really want it, I really want to watch more, and then a lot of stuff pales in comparison, which we find a lot. So it's kind of struggling trying to find that middle ground. So yeah, there was one on Netflix called Good Cop, Bad Cop. It was only one season, it's been cancelled. I think it was only 8 episodes, and it's essentially about a little town, and you have the head sheriff, and one of his detectives is his daughter, and then she brings in their other son who's a little bit like ADHD, and it's their two kind of shenanigans of their different personalities and how they clash, and coming back to it. And it was all right for what it was worth. Obviously Clancy Brown is the head person, he's the main person, you know. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it as you go along, and it's kind of a solving a mystery per week, or somebody's got ill and you're trying to figure out what's happened. And obviously it's a little bit silly and clever in places, and there's a bit of a story. So it followed the same format. I just don't think it had enough star power. And I say star power, not that the acting on that was bad or anything. It merged in too much and didn't stand out from all the other ones you've kind of had before it, and that's why it explains that it doesn't really need a second series. There were some characters or secondary characters I didn't think were that great, kind of generic-y top ones, but that was that. We'll go into, I've got 4, so we'll go into another one. So trying to find movies for my wife to watch. Obviously we then decided to watch Better Man, so this was one of my favorite movies from I think 2 years ago now, even though I don't own it. And I really enjoyed it, and it was good to watch it with my wife. She Take That and Robbie Williams music, so she really enjoyed the movie. She was like a lot of people, like, what, a monkey, I don't get it, kind of understands it as going along. It was very interesting because we were looking up as we were going, trying to find of if everything was real. Obviously this is a depiction of Robbie Williams' life from Robbie Williams' standpoint. Now I think I said, like, he doesn't paint himself in a very good light in places, and you can understand kind of that of his upbringing and stuff like that. Obviously there are altercations with Gary Barlow and stuff like that. Focus, Gary Barlow was referenced in this and what did have some say. You know, there are bits with his dad, and the end scene with his dad never actually happened. So you can see it's kind of a little bit of a fantasy kind of ideal, and not really ideal, but kind of if you took his life, how he would kind of maybe want to change stuff. He doesn't very clarify that, but I still really enjoyed it, and it's shot really well. It's a shame it didn't do very well, but I understand, obviously, America not really knowing Robbie Williams, they wouldn't have understood the film, but it is a very good movie. So that is half of what I've seen streaming. So we will go, as usual, we will reverse the order as we always do, and we will get into it. So first we start getting into the films. So this is a steelbook I picked up recently of Into the Woods. So if anybody hasn't seen it, essentially it is kind of a collaboration of all the kind of Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, and a few other ones all mixed in, being a musical. It was enjoyable for what it is. It doesn't necessarily follow the usual where you expect it. Obviously, you know, the good guys end up with the goods and everything like this. There's a few bits of other stuff laid in there. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not necessarily I would run back to. Sorry, I'm just removing the foil from the plastic casing to make it a little better. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it is. I would happily rewatch it again. It's a nice steelbook, and I think it cost me £3, so I will happily keep it in the collection. Won't be one I will run to, but I will happily revisit. So as we're on the steelbook side of things, we then get into another steelbook I bought a little while ago, I think near the end of last year. So it's a New Legacy Space Jam 2, essentially. Again, I wasn't a big fan when I watched it. I think it's cost me £2 in the end. So for £2 for a 4K steelbook, regardless of how good the film is, I thought there were aspects of the film was good. I'm not a big basketball fan. I don't really know much about LeBron James. Obviously, it's interesting the way they went. So the first film, as far as I remember it, you've got Toon World and everything else, and they're invaded and side of things, and then they bring Michael Jordan in, and I think that works. No disrespect to Michael Jordan or anything else, but he has a big part in it, but it's not the main factor. He's kind of a character in the world, whereas this movie then it's LeBron James, it's his world, and then they insert the tunes into it, kind of trying to do the polar opposite of what the first one did. And I just don't think it worked as much. Obviously, then they did a lot of references to all the characters and where they've all been, so it was good that they tied it in. I like the Looney Tunes characters in general and stuff like this. And they were animated really well, and then obviously had the 3D near the end of it, and obviously features back to the previous movie. But yeah, I can see where it just didn't hold up for that dynamic. I think again they should have gone with a similar sort of overall feeling of the first movie. Just had LeBron. You could add a little bit more into LeBron James's, but I don't know if there were contracts and stuff that was meant to be. He would do it if there was this, and this. But it is what it is. So next up, we get into movies. So we have The Lookout. So if you've been watching my series, my collection, this I think is the last one that I picked up of my pile of 29. And you will see there are titles in here that are on basically my last 30 films. And then I've watched every single film that I own, anime and non-anime, series, different different kettle of fish. But obviously I'm going through these and basically picking out stuff that I haven't seen. So this is quite interesting. So essentially you have Jason Gordon-Levitt. He is a young lad. He is obviously the high school quarterback, stuff like this. You see him driving along with his girlfriend and their friends in his car, and they're kind of going through this kind of cornfield-esque, and he does this thing where he turns his lights off so you can see the fireflies. His friends start to get worried. They panic, and then he turns the lights on. There's a combine harvester in front, and then there's an accident. Then you have it so many years later. Essentially, people were killed. Two people were killed. His friends in the back were killed. Unfortunately, his girlfriend at the time is still around, but you don't see. And he has now memory loss, so he doesn't retain stuff. He now lives with Jeff Daniels, who is a blind man, and it's basically him trying to navigate the worlds. And basically, his job is he works at a bank and does all this stuff. And unfortunately gets roped into helping a group of people rob the bank, and then it's kind of the events of does that happen and stuff. But it's really, really well. Very, very sad bit. There is a character unfortunately gets killed off. That is a bit sad near the end of it. But I thought it was quite a good story, quite interesting how it was set out. And yeah, and really, really enjoyed it. It's the whole memory loss and him having issues and trying to find his way in the world, and where he gets kind of acceptance near the end when stuff's going wrong. But it is what it is, and I say I enjoy it. I'd definitely look out. It's a rental copy. I'm not going to fuss about looking out, and because it's a rental copy, it shows you how long I've had it. So next one up is one my wife bought me, I think about a year ago. Finally got around to it and watching it all. So it's taken me about 3 weeks, I think, to watch this, and it is The Crow: Stairway to Heaven. So this is the TV series based off the film. Essentially, the first episode is a depiction of the film itself. Eric Draven is killed, but then they kind of bring in the realm of there is kind of a halfway, and this is where Shelley is, and this is where Shelley stays, and she's waiting for him. And then kind of they carry on with the series that he doesn't kill all of the bad guys. Some of them go to jail, some of them go to the mental institution. They do come back. You have evil spirits and stuff there. There is another Crow character that comes into it. There is Albrecht, the cop, who was played by Ernie Hudson. There's another guy who have done really well. You have the police side of things. You have like Darla reforming herself, and it is a good series. It is kind of a forgotten series. A lot of people don't think about. To be honest, not Jim Caviezel, Mark Dacascos, who played it. He looks very much the character. He acts like the character, and he took his own spin on it, and I think it works really well. Obviously, it is a kind of 90s, the kind of what is it? Texas walk around. There's a there's a good guy in town, he knows martial arts and stuff. It worked really well. Adding in the supernatural element, I didn't mind. Adding in another crow was convenient. Bringing the main characters, the main like fun boy and all that back a few times was all right for me. I kind of would have liked them to completely stepped away from it, done the first episode or two based on the film, and then that's it. He kills them all, because essentially what this is obviously, if you've seen The Crow, is essentially he comes back and he corrects, gets vengeance for him and Shelley, but because of The Crow has come back to him, unfortunately, even though he has got vengeance for him, his scales are still tipped, and he needs to do a lot more to be able to go back to Shelley to then go on to like their afterlife. And that's what this story is about, is him doing more good within the world. And there's a few people, like they kill a few people off, and a few side characters are there and then they're not there. There is a lot more focus on the police side of things. And I think at times, the Crow being used. So apart from until the very end episode, they really don't focus on the fact that the Crow is kind of linked to his power. That's kind of wiped out. The Crow being used is used very minimal throughout the whole series. I don't know if it's hard to train and if it was costing a lot to do them, but I kind of feel at the beginning when it starts off is a lot of the Crow takes him to these crime scenes and leads him to stuff. And I thought, or she, depending on what the Crow represents itself as, I thought that was really good. I thought that narrative of he is there, he is in the world, he's trying to live in the state that he is. But obviously this Crow then takes him to people in need, and then he kind of has these stories. I thought that continue and worked really well with a little bit of supernatural thrown in, because obviously you have the whole element he is brought back from the dead. 22 episodes, to say, really good series. There was just a few bits like, right, it's an enjoyable series to watch, I say, and it obviously unfortunately got cancelled. But I think the reason why it got cancelled is because there was too much of it. But I mean, it's a thoroughbore joy series. I just think it could have been better. But I think, as I say, Mark Dacascos, the best version of Eric Draven since Brandon Lee, in my opinion. So we go to more series. So we've finally gone back to a bit of medical drama. So we finished off season 10 of ER. So it's kind of the latter half of the series. Me and my wife had to watch this, so we decided we'll pick this up and watch it. There was a realization that Dr. Green died, and since Dr. Green died, she didn't really want to watch too much since then because she was so sad. Now, I remember Dr. Green's death when I was watching this in real time many years ago, and it is kind of the first impactful death that I'd seen of a character that really like hit you, of how much an impact. Obviously, there's a lot of change that starts to happen within the series. Obviously, the whole Romano thing was quite apt. If you know what I'm talking about there, I won't go into elaborate. But obviously, the fact the series moves on. Obviously, 5 series to go. Me and my wife, apart from A Touch of Frost, this is the longest running series that me and my wife have stuck to. So I'm hoping we can get through the next few series. But sometimes it's a little bit hard because there are quite traumatic stories that sometimes can be a bit impactful. So this is a 6-pack. So this is an upgrade of a DVD set that I had. I had some DVDs, I had some steelbooks. So I have 2 steelbooks, and now I have the rest in a Blu-ray set. And I got rid of everything Iron Man. I have the DVD steelbook and the Incredible Hulk. I think I have a steelbook that was gifted to me by, Matt or AJ. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this rewatch of these movies. Going back to watch Iron Man was such fun. Seeing kind of the freshness of the superhero world was such enjoyable. And to be honest, I really enjoyed 4 anyway. So I enjoyed it. And actually Captain America, I enjoyed a little bit more than what I did before, because I didn't really rate that one. I wasn't the biggest fan. There are a few elements that stuck to me a little bit more. Obviously, knowing the comics, I kind of knew a little bit what was going to more or less happen anyway. But I did enjoy it. And obviously the Avengers Assemble movie is great. Very well put together, and obviously good acting from everyone. Obviously, I was a big fan of the original James Rhodes. Obviously, he got replaced. That is what it is. But I did enjoy it. But this is kind of a turning point for me. So there is a few little superhero bits I have. But to be honest, once I've watched on my watch list the superhero movies I got, and there's a few I need to get, like Venom 3 and stuff, I think at that point I will watch the new ones out when they come at the cinema, but apart from that, my rewatchability of superhero movies for the time being, I think I'm going to put on like a five-year hiatus. And I think everything, because I have more or less everything. There's like, I don't own the Moon Knight series or the Loki series. I didn't like the Loki series. Moon Knight, I didn't mind, but it's so expensive. But I'm basically gonna once I've got to that point, I think of say just I will just watch the new ones as they come out. And to be honest, rewatching it, I just want to give myself a big void. I think the superhero genre has kind of mostly been done for me now. As I say, I will watch the new ones, I will buy it, but wanting to rewatch it, not. I think I want to give myself 5 years or something, maybe a little bit longer, and then maybe revisit it, maybe with friends and family, and just start it again. So next up, we have what my wife bought me for Christmas was the Rush Hour triple pack. Absolutely adore these movies. I do hear rumours still that there's going to be a fourth movie. My hope there is. Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan are absolutely great. This is a German version. They all play perfectly, except for if you do get this set, beware that 3 automatically plays with German audio. You have to kind of switch it up. That kind of threw me a little bit when Chris Tucker's character's doing the policing in the road for the parking. I don't know what you could, being a traffic light kind of person. I can't remember what you call it now. But yeah, I really, really love it. I thought they have so good chemistry. I'm surprised that when we got to this point, we never got a fourth one. I imagine there's obviously reasons for that. But I thoroughly enjoy all 3 of these movies. They sit really high and happily rewatch them. And there's the funny stuff with the girl, Sue Young singing the Mariah Carey in the first one. I always make a joke to my wife about it, and she always thinks I'm a bit silly when I do that. So we will carry on. So next up, on the whole Marvel one, I decided I have 2 series to watch. So there's this one. So WandaVision, went back and watched this. Thoroughly enjoyed this again. Enjoyed the story overall. Don't have too much relation to the TV series earlier first episodes. Obviously knew it was Agatha. Knew it was Agatha all along. Still watching it, I didn't realise exactly what she was pulling strings, because I was like watching it. I was like, well, but she's still being hypnotized, and I kind of forgot it, and that was really refreshing for me. I think, when was this series actually released? As it gives us a year, 2023. So 3 years ago this series was released. So I'd forgotten a few bits, probably watched so much. It was nice that when I went back, I kind of forgot a few bits. It was really nice to see the overall world. I do like the WandaVision character from this. I don't like Doctor Strange in the multiverse. Really don't like how they treated the character. I get it that she's had a breakdown. For me, this was such a nice story because it's a trauma. She has been through so much and had, a brother's, her parents were killed, then her brother was killed, then the love of her life, Vision's killed, and she goes through all this, warps everybody, does such a bad thing, realizes that I'm not this bad person. I'm going to, sets everybody free, goes off, loses a imaginary family. And I was like, then the book Turning Her Evil, I was just like, I felt like she was due a redemption arc rather than being the bad guy, personally, because I really enjoyed her being kind of, in the first few episodes, being the good guy. And I know in this she comes across a little bit evil, but I personally, I preferred that. But WandaVision, loved to have that in 4K, so it's really nice to enjoy it. Stuff. Next up, we have SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water. So this is, I'd got a few SpongeBob films throughout life, and I got this one, and I played the game. Me and my mate played the game on this superhero side of things. I knew, but it was really fun to actually watch it. I've never been the biggest SpongeBob fan. I actually really enjoyed this movie. Antonio Banderas kind of narrating it, and the silly penguins, seagulls that sing the song and stuff like that. There was stuff that actually really appealed to me, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I weren't, when I put this on, I thought, I'm going to watch this and not want to keep it in my collection. But I actually enjoyed it. It's a little bit scuffed at the side, but yeah, SpongeBob. Plus to watch with kids and stuff like that. We will go to the next 2. So we have 2 other series a series in a movie that me and my wife have watched. So first up is The Burbs. So this is based, as far as I'm aware, on the Tom Hanks film with the same name, The Burbs. I've never seen that. My wife has never seen it, but Jack Whitehall is in this series. Essentially, it is Jack Whitehall and his wife return to the suburbs and live in his parents' house because they've had a baby. Opposite his house is this really eerie house that used to be owned by their friend who they believe has been killed. And there's all these rumours about it, and you have kind of the committee and stuff like this. And essentially, when they move there, there's all these weird goings on. This weird couple move in, or this weird man Gary moves into it, and there's all stuff, unknown stuff. People have gone missing. And it's all kind of conspiracy. And Jack White's wife and with starts to uncover stuff about Jack Whitehall's character when he was a kid and their friends and the friend of it stuff. And it was done very clever. I say I've never seen the film, so I'd be interested to see what the film is like. For me, this was a one and done. And literally, the beginning of the last episode, they kind of had the big reveal, so to speak. And I was all sitting there, that's too early. Like, surely we need something more coming along further. And then further down the line, there was a little bit like of another reveal at the very end, and then they left it open for a second series. It didn't need a second series. Me and my wife are both like, we would watch the second series, but we don't think there will be much need for a second, or there'll be enough attention on the first series to get a second series, but we shall wait and see. So that was on Now TV that we have. So I think that was HBO that's been merged with Now TV, so that's quite handy to have. So we have that. And then film-wise, we watched on Netflix. I had the movie, but just convenient, and I know I'm getting a little bit like that, a little bit lazy, but just while we have it, is Bicentennial Man. So me and my wife are massive fans of Robin Williams. Obviously watched Mrs. Doubtfire at Christmas and stuff. My wife had watched Bicentennial Man a long time ago. I've seen it 2 or 3 times, and it's like the 4th time, and really, really loved it. It was such refreshing to have a nice movie that takes on the whole core of AI, but in such a positive way, and the whole how it links to humanity and how he has connections and stuff. And it's a very sad ending, but it was nice that everything kind of how all the story held together. Never realised it was Christopher Columbus. Makes sense. I'm surprised Christopher Columbus hasn't made more movies over the time. When you look back and I'm like, oh, this, like, I have quite a lot of his movies, but I'm like, I'm surprised he didn't make more because he's a really good storyteller. And yeah, and what Robin Williams went through, and it's just a lasting memory of him there, and just seeing how good of an actor he was and how it interacts and how this is all written. And you know, when he's jumping out in the robot suit, jumping out the window, stuff like this, and it's all very cleverly done, because obviously there is so much stuff you could probably relate to if AI was around and gets more to robots. That's what people would do, and it's how, like, people who care about it and relate to it, and how AI could evolve to be more human-like rather than wanting to like kill us all off as the Terminator stuff is. But that is Bicentennial Man. Absolutely adore this movie. And then we get to the final 2. So the final 2 we then lead into. So The Lookout was the last one on my list that I had, and now we're starting on the 30 that I have to watch, and then I've watched everything. So the first one up was The Festival. So Joe Thomas, obviously from the In-Betweeners, from the Creative Line, didn't know what to expect. I'm not a festival fan. I've never been to massive festivals. I never really fancied wanting to go to festivals. I like the luxury of having a comfortable room, a comfortable bed, somewhere to go to the shower, and somewhere to go to the toilet. But I actually quite enjoyed this. As the movie went on, I found it very funny. It definitely has the feel of an In-Betweeners movie, of like, it's just this character going on holiday. That's kind of how it feels. It's very much the same humour used and stuff like this, just with a few bits thrown in. There's obviously a few famous people kind of sprinkled in there, not massively. Noel Fielding being one, Nick Frost. And it kind of isn't necessarily the ending you would expect, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Probably if you are more festival goers, you probably would relate to it even better and think this movie is amazing. I just think it's a really good movie, and I'd definitely happily watch it again. So that will stay in the collection. So that's good. So one, this I kind of got out, but this and The Wrestler are 2 movies that I just hadn't seen in such a long time that I wanted to revisit. And this is The Rocker with Rainn Wilson. So I watched this last night. This is, I forgot I'd only seen this movie once, and I watched this, and this is such a great movie from 2007. So Rainn Wilson is the drummer of a band called Vesuvius. They are up and coming. You have Bradley Cooper, Will Arnett are 2 of the members of it, and the other guy, he's been in quite a lot. I think he was Fester in the Wednesday TV series. And they did such a good job of, they're a band, they're up and coming, they're playing a gig, and then their manager says, look, I've got you this record deal, you'll open for Whitesnake, but you've got to get rid of the drummer because the record company's owner has a son who's a drummer and he wants to be integrated. So they're like, no, we're going to do it. And then when he says open for Whitesnake, they kick them all out. He has a bit of a scene of running after him, kind of Terminator-esque, and then kind of they leave him alone. 20 years pass and he's in his deadpan job, and Vesuvius, like the greatest band ever. His friend at work starts Vesuvius in his face, and obviously doesn't realise that all this trauma that he's had from they kicked him out of the band, had been successful, and he never was. He attacks him, gets fired, and moves back in with his sister-in-law. His nephew is part of a band. They end up losing their drummer because he gets banned from school, and they have to play the prom. He helps them out, does a good job until he screws it up at the end, and then kind of he starts to become a friend of theirs, befriending them, and then they kind of start becoming, due to a very early YouTube video where he's playing naked, they get recognition, they start to become popular. They go on a tour, and then they end the tour with basically opening for Vesuvius, and it's the Conflict Lair. And I thought it was really good and really funny and really well put together, and great to see a lot of famous faces. Obviously, Josh Gad, Thingy Appleton. I can't remember what name is, Emma Stone. There's a lot of famous people in here, and it is a really fun movie. So really glad to have revisited that. So that has been my watch list for this past week, fortnight even. Thank you very much for staying along if you've got this far. Is there any in this video you like, don't like? Any suggestions? Always happy for them. I've been Chris from Cypher Sigma Screen Time. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I'll definitely see you in the next one.